studio with Davey from Investing in Kids. I'm here with the great Creekside High School, Regan Ashker. How are you, my love?
Good morning, I'm doing great.
Awesome, very good. And I have to have my co-host right beside me this morning, Executive Director Donna Luders from Investing in Kids. How are you, Donna?
I'm great, Davey. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Pretty pumped up after our staff meeting today and excited. We've got some really cool projects in the oven, so let's see what we can cook up.
That's right. Let's get to working. Good morning, Regan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. I love your background there with the books and John Steinbeck.
Well, I didn't have anything set up at first, but now that we're officially doing virtual school, I figured I needed to put something together. So this looks better than the last couple weeks.
Oh, it looks awesome. It really, truly does. So other than your new backdrop, what other new positive things have come out of this virtual learning?
Sure. There have been some surprising positives. For example, some students who maybe didn't do as well in traditional school, didn't really put as much effort in when they were coming to school every day. Our whole team has noticed that some of those students are actually the ones who are first to submit their assignments. They're reaching out to me saying that they think virtual school is actually much better for them. So that's been a really surprising positive to see. Some of the students who maybe weren't as motivated, now they are interacting more, they're getting their work done, and they're thriving in the virtual environment, which was kind of surprising.
I love hearing that. That's very refreshing. That's
cool.
Definitely.
Like,
how are you keeping up with communication with your students? Is it only just through one program? Like, what's the rundown?
Sure. So we've used Schoology at Creekside for a couple years now, which I'm so happy that we do, because that was a pretty seamless transition onto the virtual environment. So they already know how to use Schoology. So once a week I send an email to all the parents and the students. And I love my 10th grade team. We came up with a 2-week pacing guide. So we send out a pacing guide every 2 weeks to parents and students. We update the assignments on Schoology calendar. So all of that stuff is there on Schoology, but I use Remind 101. I'm sure you've heard of that before. So you can text with students and parents, but no one exchanges phone numbers, real phone numbers. And I use that all the time. My students appreciate it, but they probably think I'm a little too naggy at times, because throughout the year, I am known for texting maybe 4 or 5 times a day if there's something coming up. So, but that's actually been, I think, the best tool right now, switching to virtual, because they know to expect a text from me, and it's much more easy for them to get a text rather than for them to go on to Schoology. Maybe not easier, but effort-wise, they're on their phones. So that's been, for me, the best communication tool. We remind text all day long. I'm starting to do photo challenges every week. So I'll text them a photo challenge, and that's one way to get them, kind of connected, and they send me pictures, and then I post them on our live conferences. So I would say the conferences are the other big tool we use. So we're asked to do 2 live conferences or 2 recorded conferences every week. And I usually do mine on Mondays. So students who are available, they log in. We do a live conference on Schoology. I show their pictures. We talk through the assignments for a week, and then they're on their own to work on it and to reach out if they need help.
Wow, it sounds like you've really got a lot of really good positive things going on. So let me ask you this. Are you more strict with assignments and deadlines on virtual learning, or more lenient with your students?
That's a great question. I'm really trying to be more lenient, but not so lenient that they think the work is unimportant. Our school, big shout out to Mr. McCormick, our principal. He keeps reiterating grace before grades. Keep it simple, grace before grades. And I really, really love both of those sayings. So I think it's been helpful. We give the 2-week pacing guide so they can see, we call it a suggested pacing guide. So yes, we're putting the grades into hack by those dates, but it does give them a little bit of leeway. But what I found, I have such an awesome group of students this year. They're pretty much turning in their work on time. So it's worked out pretty well. So while I feel like I am more lenient right now, I don't necessarily need to be, which is kind of a good feeling. but it has been different. If a couple kids are falling behind, we have to reach out and things like that. But for the most part, grace before grades. That's what I'm trying to stick to.
I love that saying. That's pretty cool. You need to be on a t-shirt or something. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, silly question, but have you ever seen the show Let's Make a Deal?
I have.
Oh, okay, so let's say you were on the show and the host offers you $500 or what's behind curtain number 1. Which would you pick?
Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna go with the $500. I like to think I'm risky. Maybe I take calculated risks, but in that case, I'd probably want the sure thing right in front of me. And then buy a bunch of books.
Well, behind curtain number 1 was a giant giraffe. So congratulations on the $500.
A minute ago you mentioned about students and perhaps those that are falling behind. How do you intervene with them virtually without alienating them? If you're seeing that they're not keeping up with your pacing guides.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. It's tricky now that we can't actually see them face to face. So I do have a couple situations like that. Our school devised a system where if students are not logging into any of their online platforms, we have to email the guidance counselors. And then the guidance counselors once a week reach out to the families. I also send parent emails, and again, I nag through texts, but I also have to, remind myself that if I don't get a response back from the student after 1 or 2 remind texts or emails, that's when I need to take it to the next level. But again, I'm just trying to be patient. You brought up a good point. It's easy to alienate students right now who are already feeling alone often at their house. So it's just, it's a case-by-case situation. I know some kids respond better if I'm, a little bit stricter, like, come on, get on this. You've been done great all year. You know that you can keep up with this. But then there are other students that need a little bit of a different approach. And that's where the guidance counselor comes in. So.
And let me ask you just a follow-up question with that. Do you think that there's an issue with some students at your school that don't have the technology or the internet connectivity that perhaps that's why they're not responding to you?
So we thought that at first, but it sounds like, just from what I've seen with school emails, it sounds like most of those issues have been taken care of. So we received a list of all of the students who were lacking hotspots, or they needed to check out laptops. And I believe by the second week of school, for the most part, all students had laptops if they needed them. So staff had come onto campus and checked all those out. I think there might be some still waiting for hotspots, but for the most part, they can do the assignments on their phone as well. So if they have Wi-Fi on their phone. So I feel lucky. I know there's such an equity issue right now around the country with virtual teaching. I do feel very lucky that the environment where I am, most of the students are doing okay with that. I would assume it's a little bit more motivation, struggling with just having a schedule. I mean, I'm struggling. I wake up at 4 in the morning and then I'm working late at night, and I might take a little time off during the day. So I'm working a full day, but it just doesn't feel normal yet, even though we're 4 weeks in. So I'm assuming a lot of the students are also struggling with that. So a lot of them have told me they try to do all of their work Monday and Tuesday, but then they're bored the rest of the week. So I've been trying to talk to them about maybe do, tiny things every day, just so you feel like you have a purpose, because I do think that motivation is going to start to wane a little bit now that they know it's official. We're not going back. I do think we might start to see a little bit of a drop off, and I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, and we're hearing that district-wide, with teachers. It's that fatigue. It's a different kind of tired. It's like you're constantly, you're going, but you're not up in a classroom. So it's a whole different language, essentially.
It is. It's a different type of energy. I think my skill lies with feeding off the energy of my students, face to face. So it's definitely been a transition. Doing live conferences.
Have you heard from many of your colleagues? Have you heard from many, like your buddies over at Creekside? Is there anything that any notes that they're sharing, like they're missing any resources or anything?
I think for the most part, everyone's doing okay. So I keep saying I feel lucky, but I do feel lucky. The whole English department, or I'm sorry, all English teachers in St. Johns County, Jay DiMartino, our ELA specialist, he helped us get the APEX program, which is what students already use for virtual school. So many of the high schoolers are already comfortable with APEX, and all of the lessons and quizzes are built into the system. So for English, at least, there's only one platform that they're using. So we use Schoology to help out with, organization, but everything that they do is through Apex. So all the tools are there. For other colleagues in different content areas, it's been a little bit trickier because they are trying to replicate what they do face to face and trying to find ways to put things online. So I don't know if it's necessarily a lack of resources. I think sometimes it's almost too much. Right when virtual school started, there was so much chatter everywhere, especially online. If you follow, teacher Twitter, I'm on teacher Instagram. And there was just so much that I had to deactivate my Facebook. I could not listen anymore to all the different tools that people were throwing out there. And so I decided for me, I'm only going to use tools that I've used before in my classroom. So I don't want to introduce anything new right now. I don't think that that's necessarily fair to the students when they might have 6 other teachers, throwing different things at them. So I use Remind. We've used Schoology. I use a website called Padlet. And what I did was I made a Padlet website where students, if they've read something at home, they can post books. So far, I have the majority of books up there, but I have had a couple students put their books up, so that made me happy. And then for my teaching class, because I teach intro to teaching to freshmen and sophomores, we use Flipgrid, which is you can film short little videos up to 2 minutes long. So you can ask them a prompt and then they respond with videos. So again, I think there are so many tools. It's just figuring out how to streamline everything and not get overwhelmed with all of the things that are out there.
So Regan, what are your thoughts on summer reading then? Do you think that that's something that could be incorporated in just to keep kind of motivated within the language arts?
I think for some schools and I think for some populations it could work. Our school doesn't usually do like an official reading program over the summer. So we give suggestions, but I think it would depend on the school. For my classes, we had just checked out the book Lord of the Flies literally the day before we went to spring break. So I made a little enrichment activity and I emailed it to parents and said, hey, they do have a book at home if you want your students to read it. I have some enrichment that they could do. So I think that might actually work more right now, just because, again, we don't see them face to face. We don't know what they have at home. We don't know if they can access books on Amazon or Audible. So, but I would say definitely some sort of enrichment because it is going to look different and be different when we come back, fingers crossed, in August.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I have a silly question for you. If you had to pick one superpower, either flight or invisibility, which one would you select and why?
Okay, I'm pretty nosy, but I don't think I'm nosy enough that I would want to be invisible. I think sometimes I know just enough to keep on going. So I don't know if I actually need to be invisible and find out what people are really saying. I think flight would be amazing, especially right now. We're cooped up at home. Again, I'm lucky. I'm so grateful that I'm cooped up at home and that I'm still working and healthy and my family's healthy. But wow, the ability to fly and maybe just fly over the beach would be great right now. So I would choose that.
Absolutely. So Regan, before we go, could you say something to the teachers that are out there that are really going through a hard time? Something inspiring to them. Just look right into the camera for me, and that'd be awesome if you could.
Absolutely. Teachers, it's going to be okay. We are professionals. We are so good at what we do, and we're great at pulling resources together. I just want you to take a deep breath and know that whatever you're doing is enough for your students right now. It's really easy to get sucked into that feeling that we're just not doing enough, but I know you're doing what you know is right for your students. So keep it up.
You are an inspiration, my friend.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us here today. You are amazing.
Thank you, Regan. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Bye-bye.